Welcome back, everyone, to today's Slow English podcast. This is Kevin, and I've got a very special guest with me, Julia. She has an inspiring story about how she transformed her English in just 5 months. Julia, welcome.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm really happy to be here.
Julia, let's go back to the beginning. Just a few months ago, you couldn't really speak English, right?
That's right. 5 months ago, I couldn't even make a full sentence without translating in my head. Even something simple like, "How are you?" felt impossible. But everything changed when I failed at something really important.
What was that?
My dream was to become a flight attendant for an international airline. I always loved the idea of traveling, meeting new people, and exploring different cultures. Finally, I got the chance. I applied for a major airline, and they invited me to an interview. I was so excited.
Sounds like a big opportunity.
It was. But when the interview started, I froze. They asked me the first question. "Julia, can you tell us a little about yourself?" And in my head, I knew what to say, but the words wouldn't come out. I managed something like, I am Julia. I like to travel. Good service. It was embarrassing. They smiled politely, but I knew I had failed.
Not because of your skills, but because of your English?
Exactly. That day, I realized English wasn't just a language. It was the key to my dream. And without it, I couldn't move forward. So I promised myself, I will learn English, and I will learn it fast.
So where did you start?
Honestly, I started very small. You told me, don't try to learn everything at once. Just survive first. So I made a survival sentence list, about 50 phrases I could use every day. For example, can you repeat that slowly? Where is the bus stop? I don't understand. How much is this? Could you help me, please? Every morning, I read them out loud 10 times. I didn't just read. I imagined using them in real life, like being in a store and saying, "How much is this?" or asking someone on the street, "Where is the bus stop?" And you know what, Kevin? At first, my neighbors probably thought I was crazy, repeating, I don't understand," again and again. But it worked. I didn't freeze anymore when I needed basic English. The next step was learning to talk to myself in English. You always told me, don't wait for someone else to practice with. You can be your own speaking partner. And honestly, that advice changed everything. So I started describing my day out loud. For example, while brushing my teeth, I'd say, I am brushing my teeth. My toothbrush is blue. The toothpaste tastes fresh. When I was walking outside, I am walking to the supermarket. The street is quiet. I see a red car. Even when making tea, I am boiling water. The water is hot. The tea smells good. At first, it sounded funny, even to me, but slowly it became a habit. I started noticing that English words came to my mind automatically, without translating. Kevin, I still remember one day, I was cooking pasta, talking to myself. I am cutting tomatoes. The pasta's boiling. And suddenly my brother walked in and said, "Are you okay?" I told him, "Don't worry, I'm just practicing English."
That's a great story.
Yeah, and you know what, Kevin? This tip you gave me made English feel like part of my daily life, not like homework. That's why it worked so well.
So after talking to yourself, what was your next big step?
The next step was copying native speakers. You told me about something called the shadowing method. At first, I thought it sounded strange. Like, why should I shadow someone? But when I tried it, it was amazing. I picked short sentences from shows and podcasts. I didn't just repeat the words. I copied the rhythm, the tone, and even the emotion. For example, I practiced lines like, from a TV series, Are you kidding me? I said it fast with surprise in my voice. From a podcast, that's an interesting point. I tried to sound thoughtful like the host. From a movie, I'll be right back. I copied the same confident voice. And Kevin, honestly, your slow English podcast on YouTube was a lifesaver for this. Because you speak slowly and clearly, it was perfect for shadowing. Sometimes I'd literally pause after your sentence and try to copy your voice exactly. It felt like I was practicing with you.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, I mean it. If anyone listening wants to start shadowing, your podcast is such a good place to begin. It gave me confidence, and it didn't feel scary. It felt like having a friendly teacher right in my room.
So, Julia, once you could copy native speakers and sound more natural, what came next?
That's when I started your Q&A method. You told me, don't just answer with one sentence, push yourself to add more. And that really trained my brain to think in English. For example, I'd ask myself a question like, what did you eat for lunch today? At first, my answer was short. I ate rice. Then I pushed it. I ate rice and chicken. Then longer. I ate rice and chicken because I was hungry after work. Another one. What did you do yesterday? At first, I studied. Then I studied English at home. Then I studied English at home because I wanted to prepare for my next interview. Kevin, this little game made me feel like I was actually having conversations, even when I was alone. It was like I could almost hear your voice reminding me, add one more detail, Julia.
That sounds exactly like me.
Yeah, and honestly, it worked. When people asked me real questions later, I didn't panic. I already knew how to expand my answers naturally.
Julia, you were expanding your answers and sounding more confident. But pronunciation can still be tough, right?
Oh, definitely. Even when I started speaking more, my accent was still strong. People could understand me, but I didn't feel natural. That's when I started using the echo technique you taught me. Here's what I did. I listened to a short clip, sometimes from a movie or a podcast. I paused after each sentence. I repeated it exactly. Same speed, same rhythm, same emotion. For example, a sentence from a movie, I'll meet you at the station. I repeated it 10 times until my voice started sounding closer to a native speaker. Another one from a podcast, I can't believe it's already Friday. I practiced the same way, focusing on tone and stress. At first, it felt really strange, like I was copying someone else's voice. But after a few weeks, I could hear my own voice becoming smoother. Honestly, Kevin, I think this tip was one of the things that finally made me feel like I could really speak English, not just say words.
That's exactly the point. Once you get the rhythm and tone right, everything else becomes easier.
Yes, and it made me excited to keep practicing because I could actually hear progress day by day.
Julia, once your pronunciation improved, how did you handle vocabulary? I know that can be tricky for learners.
Oh, yes, Kevin. I tried memorizing word lists before, and it never worked. That's when you suggested the story method, and it made a huge difference. Here's what I did. Every day, I picked 5 new words. I created a short story using all 5 words. I read it out loud several times. Later, I tried to use the words in real conversations. For example, one day my 5 words were excited, journey, coffee, morning, friend. My story. I was so excited this morning because my friend invited me for coffee. We talked about our journey to learning English, and it was fun. Another day, my words were rain, umbrella, taxi, late, happy. It was raining, and I forgot my umbrella. I took a taxi because I was late, but I was happy to see my friends waiting for me. Kevin, honestly, this method made learning new words feel like a game. I wasn't memorizing lists. I was creating little worlds. And every time I used the words in a real conversation, it felt so natural.
That's great, Julia. Stories make words stick because they're connected to real situations, not just isolated meanings.
Exactly. And the best part? I could gradually increase the number of words without feeling overwhelmed.
Julia, after vocabulary, how did you make English feel natural in your brain? I know thinking in English is a big step.
Yes, Kevin, that was a real challenge at first. I used to translate everything from my language into English, and it slowed me down. You suggested two things that helped a lot: thinking in English and writing a daily journal. So every day, I started describing my surroundings in English. For example, the sky is gray, it's cold outside, people are walking fast with umbrellas. Or when I was at the supermarket, I see apples, bananas, and oranges. The apples are red and shiny. Then I started a daily English journal. At first, simple sentences. Today I woke up. I ate breakfast. I went to the park. After a couple of weeks, I added more details. Today I woke up late. I ate toast and tea. I went to the park and saw children playing football. The weather was nice, but a little windy. Kevin, I have to tell you, at first, writing in English felt exhausting. But your advice to just start small and build gradually really helped. Now it feels natural, and sometimes I even catch myself thinking in English without realizing it.
That's exactly the goal. Thinking in English makes speaking and writing much faster and more confident.
Yes, and journaling also helped me notice patterns in grammar and vocabulary. I could see mistakes, correct them, and practice better next time. It became a really enjoyable habit.
Julia, you've practiced a lot alone. Survival sentences, shadowing, stories, journaling, but eventually you had to speak with real people. That can be intimidating, right?
Absolutely, Kevin. At first, I was terrified. I worried that people wouldn't understand me or that I'd make mistakes and look foolish. But you reminded me, mistakes are part of learning. Speak anyway. That really changed my mindset. So I started speaking whenever I could. At the store, "Excuse me, can I try this?" Asking strangers for directions. "Could you tell me how to get to the station?" With friends online, chatting in English about movies, food, or daily life. Kevin, I remember one day I had a small panic. I was talking to a new friend online and I froze for a second. But then I remembered what you said. Just keep talking. So I took a deep breath and continued. And guess what? They understood me perfectly. That gave me such a confidence boost.
That's fantastic. And did you do anything to practice consistency?
Yes, I made a rule. And at least 2 hours of English every day. No excuses. Even if I didn't have anyone to talk to, I spoke to myself, read aloud, or practiced shadowing. Some days it was just 10 to 15 minutes, but every day I did something. Honestly, Kevin, you helped me see that consistency matters more than perfection. Even small daily habits added up and made a huge difference.
Julia, when did you feel your English really came together?
Kevin, it was a gradual process, but the moment I felt a real breakthrough was when I had my first deep conversation in English with a native speaker online. At first, I was nervous. I worried I wouldn't understand or that I'd freeze. But as we talked, I noticed something amazing. I could think and respond naturally in English. Words flowed without translating, and I could even add details like I practiced with the Q&A method. That moment was magical. I could feel months of practice paying off. And Kevin, your advice to just keep speaking, even when it feels scary, made all the difference.
That's wonderful, Julia. And what happened with your dream job after that?
Well, 5 months after I started my journey, I applied again for the flight attendant position. This time, everything felt different. I was confident. I could understand every question. And I answered smoothly with long, natural sentences. And the result? They offered me the job. Kevin, I still remember the call. I couldn't stop smiling. All those hours of practice, shadowing, journaling, and speaking finally paid off. And I know I wouldn't have gotten there without your guidance and encouragement.
That's incredible, Julia. You've worked so hard and transformed your English in just a few months.
Thank you, Kevin. And I think the most important lesson I learned is this. With consistent practice, courage to make mistakes, and the right methods, anyone can achieve their English goals.
Julia, before we wrap up, what are the main lessons you want our listeners to take from your journey?
There are a few key things I've learned, Kevin. Mindset is everything. I used to think I couldn't speak English well, but once I believed I could improve, everything changed. Confidence comes first. Small daily habits matter more than long, occasional study sessions. Even 10 to 15 minutes every day builds momentum. It's consistency, not perfection, that creates progress. Speak without fear. Mistakes are normal, and people usually understand you, even if your sentences aren't perfect. Just speak, and your confidence will grow. Hey, you're not a native speaker, so don't worry. Just speak with others, even native speakers. Don't be scared of mistakes. You can do it. Immerse yourself in English. Listen, read, shadow, describe your surroundings, write journals. Make English part of your life, not just homework. Practice naturally, not mechanically. Real-life practice is more effective than memorizing long lists of words or rules. Kevin, I have to say, your guidance made all of this practical and doable. You showed me how to turn these tips into a daily routine, and that made learning fun instead of stressful.
That's wonderful, Julia. I'm so proud of how far you've come in just 5 months.
Thank you, Kevin, for having me and letting me share my story today.
Thank you again, Julia, for sharing your inspiring journey. And to all our listeners, don't be afraid to make mistakes. You can follow Julia's tips, practice every day, and improve your English. That's all for today's episode of Slow English Podcast. I hope Julia's story inspired you as much as it inspired me. Remember, every small step counts, and the key is to keep practicing, speaking, and believing in yourself. This is Kevin, your host on Slow English Podcast. Keep enjoying your English journey, and I'll be back with more tips in the next episode.